Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ranking Member McGovern, thank you for the opportunity to testify today on my bipartisan resolution, HJ Res 109, providing for congressional disapproval under Chapter 8 of Title 5 United States Code of the rules submitted by the Securities and Exchange Commission relating to Staff Accounting Bulletin 121. For short, we say SAB 121. That stands for Staff Accounting Bulletin 121. I'd also like to thank Congressman Nickel and Senator Loomis for working with me to introduce this resolution. Since President Biden took office, this admin has made it a point to test the limits of and take shortcuts around the public rulemaking process. Staff Accounting Bulletin, or SAB 121, is one such example. Let me begin by briefly explaining what a staff accounting bulletin is. Staff accounting bulletins are technical accounting guidance for public entities. They're typically non-controversial in scope and nature, and importantly for this conversation, they are not rules. Guidance is not supposed to dictate a major change in policy. That's what our notice and comment rulemaking process is for. However, SAB 121 is different. It's both a change in policy and a change that's controversial. You don't have to take my word for it. The Government Accountability Office decision on SAB 121 was crystal clear. This staff accounting bulletin is a rule for the purposes of the Congressional Review Act. Without objection, I'd like to submit the GAO decision letter on SAB 121 into the record.
Without objection, so ordered.
SAB 121, as simply stated, is basically, for purposes of this discussion, a rule promulgated without the proper process from the SEC that essentially bans publicly traded banks from taking custody of digital assets and by requiring that they show those digital assets on their balance sheet. Anybody paying attention knows that publicly traded banks, and there are a lot of very big banks in America, when they are a custodian for someone's assets, they leave these assets off their balance sheet. That's the very nature of being a custodian for someone's assets. It's unfortunate the SEC would attempt to circumvent the rulemaking process while claiming that SAB 121 is simply non-binding staff-level guidance. SAB 121 sets a disturbing precedent and is not the appropriate vehicle to promulgate accounting guidance for digital asset custodians. It is also alarming that the SEC did not coordinate with the federal banking agencies. We specifically asked the prudential regulators, and they were not consulted before the SEC put out SAB 121. According to a former chief accountant of the SEC, quote, generally, before any SAB is issued, the general content and staff views to be expressed in the SAB are directly discussed with registrants, accounting firms, standard setting bodies, trade groups, and other agencies, end quote. That did not occur here. My bipartisan resolution will help right this wrong and provide Congress an opportunity to collaborate with the banking regulators and allow the public with an opportunity for comment, which the SEC failed to do for the first time. Following the issuance of SAB 121, banks, broker-dealers, many other entities are not providing custodial services for digital assets. Given that these institutions have successfully offered custodial services to the traditional financial system for hundreds of years, it only makes sense for banks and other financial entities to continue this service for digital assets. Instead, the SEC has impeded this long-standing practice and made safeguarding digital assets prohibitively expensive for trustworthy and highly regulated institutions. A perfect example of this dangerous precedent set by SAB 21 can be found in the SEC's recent approval of spot Bitcoin exchange-traded products, or ETPs. Of the ETPs that were approved, none have banks acting as their custodian, and all are using the same 4 non-bank custodians. If anything, we want highly regulated banks in the business of custodying digital assets over non-banks that are not regulated. Our goal should be to bring digital assets under the umbrella of regulated financial institutions and to mitigate any potential risks associated with safeguarding these digital assets. How can the SEC in good faith say they're working to bolster investor protection when the agency has done the exact opposite with SAB 121? I would also ask the SEC, how does limiting options and incentivizing concentrated risk help protect Americans? The fact is the SEC made a mistake. They did not consult with the banking regulators. They sought to go around Congress, and they deprived Americans of a highly regulated avenue to hold digital assets. Not only will my resolution stop the SEC from running roughshod over the public rulemaking process, but it will also open the floodgates for competition and innovation within the digital asset ecosystem and the U.S. financial system more broadly, and a financial system that's regulated, that is focused on protecting consumers. We cannot allow any agency, especially the SEC, to sidestep the rulemaking process and victimize fledgling industries. I urge the committee to support the rule and my resolution so we can hold the SEC accountable for its unacceptable overreach. With that, I yield back.